Well, you're listening to Monday with Mayor here on 18 WJTS, and today we're on the phone with Ferdinand Town Manager Chris James. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Ann, and a belated Merry Christmas and an early Happy New Year to you.
Right back at you, and I understand the Leadership Academy wrapped up a few big projects last month.
It was another good Leadership Academy. Because of the virus, everything started later than normal, wrapped up later than normal, but the two teams once again came up with some top-notch projects. One of the teams is putting together teacher packs. As folks, or a lot of folks would know, teachers a lot of time fund supplies and things in their classroom out of their own pockets, above and beyond whatever the school may have allocated for various supplies. And one of our teams decided to, especially in this year of COVID, to help out the teachers. They worked very well with the 4 school corporations in Du Bois County and selected a handful of elementary schools throughout Du Bois County to find out what are the teachers' needs, what particular item or items that they use a lot of and constantly need to resupply. They put together sort of a wish list. They did some off-site from schools collections at some of the library facilities in Du Bois County, and then they also are taking advantage of $5,050 to be specific grant from Du Bois County Community Foundation to go toward supplies, and they've bought a lot of sort of gift cards, if you will, and then those will be presented to the various schools, and then they can then purchase the wish list items, for lack of a better term. So a chance to help the teachers out. Right now it's kind of an ideal time. They're in their holiday break. Some schools actually started going to hybrid or virtual schooling pre-Christmas. So this will be a chance for them to stockpile some items for their classroom once the second semester gets going, and try to help out the teachers, and in turn that helps out the kiddos who attend the school. Our second team has been working with a group called SWICAC. They've been working with them. It's an organization similar to CASA in terms of being able to take care of kids sort of in a foster care setting or in a I'll say a family disruption situation, a chance to help them out in a short-term basis. A lot of what SWICAC does year to year, they had to scale back or cancel because of COVID once again. So they helped out with their annual fundraiser, trying to raise some dollars toward that, and then also just do some general fundraising to purchase some supplies for them to use. And so that project is also moving forward. So we've got to give a real tip of the hat to both of the teams. This is, I think, my 8th year or 7th year involved with Leadership Academy, and every year the teams come up with newer, I won't say better, but different projects. They every year a team raises the bar, and the next year's group matches that and maybe even surpasses again. I'm looking very much forward to our 2021 program to see what those groups will come up with project-wise next year. But it was another very successful Leadership Academy here in 2020, and we're grateful for all of the support of both teams' programs through financial or other contributions and donations, and looking forward again to 2021 for that.
That sounds great, and there is some good news in light of COVID-19. There's a next phase of activities going around Old Town Lake starting in January.
Yes, ma'am. We've actually sped the process a little bit. Literally this past summer, we opened up the trail. The 4th of July holiday weekend was when the trail was officially open to the public, and then they had a groundbreaking ribbon-cutting ceremony in the autumn, and a chance to thank all of the donors and contractors who helped get things constructed to that point. And at that time, they announced 2 items for the next phase of work, and thanks to both private contributions and public fundraising, again, funded in part by a grant from the Du Bois County Community Foundation, the Park Department is going to be starting in the coming weeks 2 new items at the Old Town Lake. One is going to be a kayak launch. Folks can kayak on the lake right now. It's a little trickier to do, but they're able to do it, but they're going to have a dedicated launch spot for kayakers. And then we also are going to have construction of a fishing pier, and that pier is going to be dedicated in the memory of Bouncer Olinger, a longtime Ferdinand resident and a man behind the scenes in a lot of things that were accomplished in town many years ago up until recent times as well. His wife and 2 daughters put their heads together and got with the park department and said, what will it take for this project to happen? They exchanged conversation and dollar figures, and the family has graciously contributed the cost to get that constructed. So here in the early part of 2021, in the wintertime where things are calmer all the way around, construction on that fishing pier will begin, along with the kayak launch. Both projects will necessitate the lowering of the lake level to a point, not near the extent that it had to be lowered for the footbridges that were installed for the walking trail, but it will have to be lowered to a point so they can get out and do proper establishment of the mooring posts, the foundations for the pier and the launch, and get all of that lined up. So we're looking forward to that work beginning over the wintertime of 2021, and if everything goes according to Hoyle, as they say, by spring and summertime, hopefully those items will be open to the public as well, and have 2 more very nice additions to what is very quickly becoming a fantastic third park in the Ferdinand Park system.
That's awesome. And as residents drive by the town hall, they may notice a few changes.
We've had quite a few changes in recent time. This is something that has been on the drawing board, in a manner of speaking, for probably 3 years. Council has, at budget time, set aside monies to go toward the renovation of the exterior of Town Hall. A couple of years ago, we had the interior fully repainted, all of the offices, the council room, all of that was repainted and brightened up and really beautified. Now we focused on the outside of the building. Part of it was prompted back in April. We had a strong windstorm rip through the area, and it peeled the siding off of the east side, which is the State Road 162 side facing of the building, peeled it clean off right down to the bare lumber. So we had a more rustic look to at least that portion of the building. The roof had started to lose some shingles. We were having issues with that. And so over the past month, we have had a new roof installed. A new cupola was just put on the building last week to replace the original one, which had seen quite a bit of wear and tear and couldn't really be salvaged to stay on the building, so we had to have a new one created. The building itself, if you haven't been through Ferdinand for a little bit, you may recall when it was the Holland National Bank, and in more recent times, the Ferdinand Town Hall, it was a red brick. Well, that has now been painted sort of a grayish, light gray color, and then the corners of the building have been given an off-white. I'm sure there's a technical color term, but I'll call it an off-white, creamy off-white color on the corner. So it's sort of a two-tone pattern. It has really sharpened up the appearance of the structure. We're in the process. All of the siding has been attached all the way around the building. New soffitting work was done. The front porch area, the lighting was upgraded. Newer lights, better lights. I think even they added a couple of lights to brighten that up for when we eventually go back to having meetings at Town Hall of an evening. It'll be lit up better for folks coming into or out of the building. And we are in the last, I believe earlier today, they started on one of the next to last windows in the building to be replaced out as well. Much more weather, energy efficient, weather resistant type of window. So it's going to be a very sharp appearance when it is said and done. The building from a distance still looked great as you would drive into town, but if you came up close and personal, you could start to see some of the cracks in the facade, some of the flaws in the structure, and council decided, let's get this taken care of now. We've waited long enough. Let's move it forward. And kudos to the contract, Seifert and Associates and their subs for doing a lot of diligent work in a short period of time. And they got the painting done first while the weather was still paintable weather, knowing full well that if things turned cold early, they could come back in the spring to do some touch-up work. They may still have to, but from my viewpoint, it looks pretty good already. The contract conclusion date is actually Thursday, New Year's Eve. It was supposed to be done by the end of the year, and they are going to have it done, or all but just a couple of little teeny tiny parts completed by December 31st, and we'll turn that north end of Ferdinand into more of a showplace location. And next year, come holiday time, if everything goes proper, we'll have our town Christmas tree out at that location. For folks that are familiar with Town Hall, there's kind of an island as you come off the highway into the parking lot area, and the tree will sit there. We actually had electric service run to that location for just such an occurrence, not just for the tree, but if we had to power something else electrically. So look forward to having our town Christmas tree on the north end of town as a kind of a vision catcher when folks come into town from the north side of Ferdinand, and just trying to do our best to continue to make Ferdinand a beautiful place for folks to visit and live, and just have one more calling card to bring folks into town for.
Well, that sounds great, and thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a crazy 2020.
Today you've been listening to Monday with the Mayor here on 18 WJTS, and today we've been on the phone with Ferdinand Town Manager Chris James. Thanks for tuning in. This is 18 WJTS, local people watching local people.